Trick-or-treating is an awesome, amazing holiday tradition that could never be remade today. If it wasn't a thing and people tried to make it a thing today, people would never be able to get past the true crime brain rot in their heads to allow them to let their kids ask their neighbors for candy. And every year when it comes around, you see people trying to kill it. Oh, they're putting razor blades in the candy now. Oh, they're putting fentanyl in the candy now. Here's the reality that trick-or-treating exposes every year that our feeble modern minds are no longer able to comprehend. You have a lot more in common with your neighbors than you think you do. Strangers are not as scary in real life as they are on TV.
Yo, I do not care. If my man asks me for my whole paycheck, I'm going to give him my whole paycheck. You know why? Because how can he be a provider, right?
I'm listening.
How could a man be a provider if he has no money to provide?
A female said it, not me.
I get that. I genuinely feel like I'm literally one of the guys. Like, I'm not afraid to burp. I'm not afraid to fart. Like, I watch football. I literally have more guy friends than girlfriends because guys are like so much less drama.
Right. They easier for real.
No, we gotta protect her, bro.
Right.
It does not matter if your husband comes home at 3 a.m. You should be up and cooking for him. He needs to have a hot meal when he comes home. No, sis. See, look at what I'm wearing versus what you're wearing.
Okay,
guys are more likely to respect me more because I show modesty, modest behavior, and you clearly like you don't respect yourself. So a guy is more likely to pick me than you because of the fact that the way I'm dressed. Yo, I totally agree with you. Like I think like a guy. That's why a lot of girls like don't like me because I have that like mindset. No. This is my hot take. No. This is gonna be my hot take. Okay. I just feel like if you wear makeup, you don't actually like yourself for real because why are you hiding yourself? Like like personally, like I'm natural. I feel like I'm the only girl on earth that doesn't have her body done, and I feel like that's why I'm like very rare.
Females should not be on the road, bro.
No. I'm a girl, and I agree with LaFrederick.
Thank you.
I feel like we don't really know what we're doing on the road, so it's like I feel like we really shouldn't be driving. Like you're right. Like
I think it's time that we start being nicer to females.
What? Frederick, stop!
I'm done.
I am a sympathetic person. Guess I can't be autistic because I care about people. Surely I'm not on the spectrum if I empathize. Wow, basically the same exact question for a third time. This must be a really all-encompassing, important part of being autistic. I was also taught the meaning of idioms, so because I know what this means, I can't be autistic. Yeah, I mean, I've never had this specific anecdotal experience, so not autism. Maybe I'd be on the spectrum, but I do have a capacity to love. Man, I enjoy going out to eat with someone I know because they act as a social buffer and they can do all the talking, but, well, guess that means that I can't be. And this is why autism assessments shouldn't be written by autistic people. It's called the autism spectrum for a reason. Some autistic people are extroverted, some are introverted, some are nonverbal, some are verbal but experience verbal shutdowns. If I prefer to go to the theater than to a museum, I'm not suddenly autistic. And since black and white thinking is an autistic trait, I shouldn't have to read between the lines to understand your test.
I hate minimalism. That's not my vibe. I want to feel like a wizard who is surrounded by the collections of his many adventures.
You guys remember how billionaires spent the last how many years telling us that if we wanted to buy a house, we needed to give up our $5 coffees every day? And now we're giving up our $5 coffees every day, and we're the bad guys? We're just doing what you told us. Remember, we're saving money to buy a house. Sorry, guys. Love you. Hope you go bankrupt. Mwah.
Hi y'all, I'm just ranting, but I also have like a genuine question. Hypothetically, if the US citizens decided to rise up and attempt to overthrow the government, what would be the realistic outcomes of doing that? Because like I keep seeing people say like that's a completely acceptable course of action. Like we are allowed to do that. But I don't see enough people talking about what the reaction is going to be. We've seen other countries do it. 'Twasn't fucking easy for them. And we've already come to the conclusion that our government is willing to kill us all than walk a mile in our fucking shoes. I need somebody big brain who's actually like studying this type of shit. I need somebody to give me like a real fucking answer. what would happen if the US citizens tried to overthrow the government? Knowing all the things that we have learned, okay, like we know they're willing to poison the food, they're willing to poison the water, they're willing to poison the air, they're willing to set states on fire and kill everybody. They don't fucking care. They spend billions of dollars on their military, so that would most definitely be weaponized against us. They're doing everything in their fucking power to keep people from our bordering countries from getting into the States, but that also means we can't get out. So like, how the fuck would a revolution actually work? Someone needs to be real with me. Someone needs to be like honest about the realities of what we actually want to achieve so that we can actually like organize something, come together, plan something, and get fucking prepared for the damages that would come out of it. Some of us have been saying it for years. Some of us are finally coming to terms with it. This shit is not normal. The conditions that we are forced to live in is completely fucking unacceptable. And we have the power to do something about it, and we totally can, but I need to know what are the realistic outcomes if we did. Because I don't think it would be as simple as breaking out the guillotine and getting rid of some old fucks. Like, no, we would be dismantling a system that has been in place for hundreds of years. A system that has influenced the rest of the globe. A system that would not go down without a fight. So I need to know, what would the fight actually look like? Because I think we're all talking about it. We've all been throwing around like what ifs, but like, no, I need to know like what would really happen so that I can mentally prepare myself, physically prepare myself. I can start like getting on board with the idea that we wouldn't have food. Like, I need to know like what would actually happen. At this point, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? They're going to kill us. They're already doing that. So we really have nothing left to lose. I just got to know, what's the fucking game plan, guys? Because I'm not a warrior. But if you tell me the revolution is next week, I will start going to the gym right the fuck now. I will train my body to live off of one peanut. Okay? I am down to clown. So hypothetically, if the US citizens decided to rise up and attempt to overthrow the government.
I like this video and I like these questions a lot because, yeah, a lot of people are talking about revolution right now, but not a lot of us know what that actually looks like. Now, I've spent the last few years trying to study revolution so I could get an understanding of, yeah, what to prepare for. I'll tell you a couple things. It's not getting a couple thousand people to go storm the Capitol like January 6th, and it's not even getting millions of people to march throughout the streets like in 2020, because guess what? Neither of those led to foundational change. It's about having organized movements of people all throughout the country. That can come through things like labor unions, as we're seeing one of the biggest labor pushes in American history right now. That's organization. It's about joining political parties. That's organization. It's often said that when the Russian Revolution happened, the monarchy was elbowed out of power, meaning that by the time the Russian people actually got to the point of revolution, they'd already won. Now, the really violent part, when those who had just lost their power came to secure that power, and an international coalition of countries went in to invade to reinstall the monarchy. The Cuban Revolution was initially started by 16 people, and ever since their victory, they've been faced with an over 60-year-long economic embargo. Considered illegal by all but 2 countries, but anywho. The Critique of the Gotha program is probably my favorite essay by Marx, and in that he's talking about the Paris Commune. The Paris Commune was probably the first time in modern history that socialists actually seized power of a government. Now, it would only last for a few months, and that's where a lot of Marx's critiques come in. I think of the Paris Commune as like a much bigger version of what would happen in Capitol Hill, Seattle throughout 2020. Some of Marx's biggest critiques would be that they weren't organized enough, or that they didn't use the state's remaining infrastructure in order to protect themselves and provide for the people around, and that's why they'd be overthrown by an organized military. So for instance, in America, if we're going to talk about revolution, we have to talk about who's providing food for people, who's providing electricity, who's providing protection and money, how are our politics going to be organized? And you see, this is where the problem of organization comes in. We have a whole lot of people pissed off and tired of this world we live in. But how do we go about fighting the most organized military in the world, the biggest police force in the world, a capitalist class that has more wealth and power than anyone else in the world? You do that by getting organized in mass movements of people, by joining labor unions, tenants unions, political groups. You have to have the foundations of what you're going to transform into before you can do the transformation process. Looking at something like the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020, I can tell you, we have the people to do it, we have the drive to do it, but by God, we just gotta get organized.
And there are a lot of people with a lot of wealth and a lot of power who are not just going to give that up. So we're gonna need a whole lot of us to make sure that people are putting out content, that people are doing mutual aid to provide people with the things they need to survive now. People who are in gun training classes, people who are learning how to be field medics. We need community gardens and community art. But let me tell you, you don't get to fight the most organized groups of people in the world without a similar structure of organization. But let me tell you, when the US empire falls, it will have a ripple effect throughout the world. And at that point, I think this world has a chance to see some of the highest levels of international solidarity we have ever seen. Throughout this whole process, those seeking change will be fought against by the bourgeoisie press with the most dehumanizing remarks imaginable. Just as the leaders of the slave abolition movement were, the civil rights movements, the suffragette movements, and so on and so forth. We must never forget that we have nothing left to lose, but a whole world to gain.
Stupid fucking whore! So I'll just shut the fuck up! I'll just shut the fuck up for good now, huh?
Honestly, T for T mindset is not just about dating for me. Like, being in friend groups and having platonic relationships with other trans people is, on average, more rewarding. And I have cis friends, but there's kind of this, like, basic metric criteria, I think, where, for me personally, being in trans friend groups feels really welcoming and safe, because to me, if some shit goes on in public, if we get harassed, I have anxiety, I can't fight, but for a trans person, I love if you swing, I swing. If you run, I run. No questions. I don't have to have seen what happened. With some of the situations I have found myself in public, to be intimate in my life, being a good ally to me would be feeling willing to physically put your body between me or another trans person and an aggressor if the situation arose. And luckily, I have found myself in way more verbal altercations than physical or risk of physical. Most of the time, I can tell if a cis person is cool, like the first time somebody calls me a slur in public, like how they react to the person, how they react to me, what they say about somebody giving me or a friend a weird stare. I have to actually trust a cis person in my life to, in whatever way they can, stand up for us if they had to, or they're not around. And honestly, I think I probably have like 2 cis friends.
When you know, you know. When you know, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Fazbear Entertainment would like you to put your hands together for the one, the only, Freddy Fazbear.
I like apples and bananas.
Me too, bro. Me too.
Some even saying, hey, we'd rather go to prison for 5 years, get free food, have our clothing taken care of, rather than being shot at in a war zone.
I really don't think people understand how serious Gen Z is when we say, unless you want to see the largest unaliving pact in human history, I suggest this whole drafting debacle perish immediately. Like, I really don't get it. Like, y'all keep playing in our face like we won't all get up individually and turn this entire bitch into Jonestown. Since we want to repeat history so much, let's run that shit back. 900 is rookie numbers. We finna shoot for 70 million. Gen Z, we are overachievers. We are people pleasers, all right? We gonna double it, triple it, quadruple it, million it, billion it. We gonna shake some shit up like our body gonna do when we ingest that fucking cyanide. Because let me tell you something, Gen Z, most of us have grown up in a psych ward, and that psych ward to prison pipeline, the similarities between the two, dastardly. So, what are we losing, really, when we go to jail? 5 years? Ah, come on now, try 21. I don't want to be here. I want to not exist, but I will not carry out those plans on behalf of a rich white man. I'll tell you what. To expect us to lay down our lives for a country who has given us nothing? See me? I wouldn't even put in the effort to serve this country a bowl of irradiated dog shit. We have standards. We have principle. And I said it before. We need order.